in our lifetime. It's going to shape, the outcome's going to shape our country for decades to come. And the power to shape that outcome is in your hands.
When true democracy goes away, people get hurt. It has real consequences. This is not an abstraction. Governments start telling you what books you can read and which ones you can't. Dissidents start getting locked up. Reporters start getting locked up if they're not towing the party line. Corruption reigns because there's no accountability.
That's right. Barry and Sleepy think America's 200-year-old democracy is going to die if Republicans win. The same country that survived a Civil War, a Great Depression, 2 World Wars, and Will Smith's Oscar slap. And the best part is, the way it's going to end is by people voting. And if that's not dire enough, the third most powerful Democrat in the House doubled down in his comparison of the Republicans to Hitler.
Democracy will be ended. The world will continue to exist. The world was here before Hitler. The world was here after Hitler. That's what we're saying. No, the world will not end. The kind of world we have, the kind of country we have, we've got to decide how do we want to exist in this world. And that's what we're talking about.
And if you thought that was ridiculous, Hollywood libs like Rob Reiner think Republicans will literally start killing people.
The other side, reality doesn't mean anything. They're only interested in power, and they're only interested in, and they'll do anything to get the power. They're willing to kill, literally kill, to get the power. You can't have a conversation with them. The only thing we can do is try to hold on to the House, add a couple of Senate seats. It's going to be very hard, but if we don't do that, this might be the last election we have in a democratic democracy.
So, Greg Gutfeld, if democracy is going to die on Wednesday, should you be wearing a Hawaiian shirt on Monday?
Yeah, it's weird being called, Hitler by somebody who looks like they're going to a presentation for a timeshare. It's something else. But I don't know. Does it matter if the person calling you Hitler or saying you're like a Nazi doesn't mean it? Like, it's kind of interesting. I go back to that whole thing with when Kamala Harris basically called Biden a racist, and then when afterwards, when they asked her about it, she goes, "It was just a debate," and she starts laughing. She did that on Colbert. It's just a debate, and I'm going, okay, so is that worse? I mean, you're still calling somebody a bigot, or you're still calling somebody a racist. It's like they think that the day after the election, we forget about all of this. But I think we've hit the wall. I've said this. I really do think we've hit the wall. What else are you going to call us beyond Nazi? Like in 10 years, Nazi's going to be mild. It's gonna, it's gonna be like, that's insulting to Hitler.
I don't know about that, Greg.
No, that's how it's going. Yeah. Crazy.
So, are we going to play this tape of Rob Reiner saying the Republicans were literally going to kill people and turn into Nazi Germany? I think we're going to hear a lot of that footage for about the next year.
You want to watch it over and over again?
Yeah, just as a reminder.
I mean, it's so insulting. Remember the statistic that Judge Jeanine pointed out in the A block, that 60% of people are asking for drastic change. That's what democracy is all about. You brought up the point that democracy is about representing the people. The people are saying we'd like some change. The other thing is, let's just get some perspective on history. The White House knew on January 20th, 2021, that they were likely to lose the House and maybe the Senate in this midterm election.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen. So it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of democracy. It's kind of preposterous and insulting.
All right, so reject your party's midterm message. You have 20 seconds, go.
So I happen to be particularly 1930s sensitive, since my family actually did flee Hitler, and it was kind of a big deal, and I don't like those comparisons. KKK, out, don't talk about that. Hitler, don't talk about that. If you want to talk about denominations of fascism, if you want to talk about, frankly, from the other side, denominations of socialism. And I know Harold brought up this point yesterday, that the right often flings at the left and says, if they get into power, it's going to be like Venezuela. You're going to be eating dogs, right? And all you're going to have is
Chef Boyardee.
That's better than dog.
Is that your midterm message?
Yes, that is my midterm message.
You're not eating dog food.
It's very sad that everyone has become so immune to the horrific things that the other side is saying to them. And I happen to think that there are really serious Republican threats to democracy in terms of people who have said, I would not have certified the election. I was talking to someone in New York who's going to vote tomorrow, a Democrat who is thinking about Lee Zeldin. And she said, well, make your case for Kathy Hochul. And I talked about why I voted for Hochul, why I think it's important to have Democrats in charge. And I said, besides, and he's come out with an ad about abortion, which I think was smart of him to just acknowledge that the laws aren't going to change. But I said, I could not vote for someone who voted against certifying a free and fair election. Period. End of story for me. And I think people like Doug Mastriano and Carrie Lake, et cetera, are dangerous. But going to the extremes in everything just turns everybody off. And then they go into that booth and they do something and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to respond to polls. It was Republicans 28 points less likely than Democrats to tell pollsters what they were going to do on Election Day. And talk about, lowering the temperature. This is one way that we can do it, where at least voters will feel like you've heard them say, talk to me about stuff I actually care about. And that can be talking about January 6th in a normal way. Or it can be talking about what Medicare for all would mean in a normal way.
Judge,
you know who else said that, Jessica? Stalin.
That's not true.
Check it.
I will in the break, but I'm pretty sure.
Judge Jeanine.
The Democrats say that democracy will die if the Democrats don't win tomorrow. What the Democrats want is one-party rule. What the Democrats want is for Republicans to never win again. What the Democrats want is to despise the 74 million Americans who voted MAGA or voted for Donald Trump. They hate other Americans that live with them in the same country. My belief is this: if Republicans don't win, law and order will continue to be out of control because of the Democrat policies that we are experiencing, especially in New York State. If the Republicans don't win, it will continue to be the end of free speech, as we saw with big tech and the election in 2020, when they wouldn't allow us to even talk about Hunter Biden. If the Republicans don't win, then it will be a threat to democracy, because it will be the end of education, where teachers believe they should be able to trans our kids and talk about 1619 without our knowing about it. And finally, they want one-party rule, which is evidenced by their repeated degradation of anyone who isn't a Democrat. That's what's at stake. We're not looking for one-party rule.
Really?
The Democrats are
What
looking
Democrat
for...
do you want in charge of something?
No, right now.
No,
Jessica,
tell me.
let
What
me
Democrat
finish.
do you like?
Let me finish. Joe Biden is the president. So that's not one
In
party
2024,
rule.
would you like him to
about
win?
tomorrow. I don't want to go through this. Right now, we've got a president who's a Democrat, and most Americans believe that the power should be split between Democrats and Republicans. What the Democrats want is they want a Democrat House, Senate, and Oval. And that's brought us nothing for the last 2 years.
You know what Democrat I like?
What?
You, Jessica.
That's very generous. I'll
it.
count on your vote when I take that turn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not